Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects every single one of us. The state of transportation in Canada as we look ahead to 2025. From your daily commute to the goods on our store shelves, our transportation network is the lifeblood of the country. But it's facing some serious challenges. So buckle up as we explore the biggest hurdles Canada needs to overcome to keep us all moving. First up, let's talk about our cities. Urban congestion is getting worse, not better. If you live in a major city like Toronto, Vancouver, or Montreal, you know the feeling. You're stuck in traffic, your commute time is creeping up, and it feels like there's no end in sight. This isn't just frustrating. It has real economic costs. We're talking lost productivity, increased fuel consumption, and a major strain on our quality of life. The core of the problem is that our urban infrastructure just hasn't kept pace with population growth. For decades, we've built our cities around the personal car, and now we're paying the price. Public transit systems are often overcrowded, underfunded, and can't reach every corner of our sprawling suburbs efficiently. This forces more people into their cars, creating a vicious cycle of more traffic, more pollution, and more gridlock. As we head into 2025, cities are scrambling for solutions, but big infrastructure projects take years, even decades, to complete. So the question is, what can be done in the short term to provide some relief? This brings us to our next major issue, the promise versus the reality of public transit. We hear a lot about expanding subway lines, building new light rail transit, or LRT, and increasing bus services. And while there are some exciting projects in the works across the country, many are plagued by delays, cost overruns, and political squabbles. Take the Eglinton Crosstown in Toronto. It's, for example, a project that has faced years of delays, frustrating residents and business owners along the route. It highlights a bigger problem: funding and commitment. Building effective public transit is incredibly expensive, and securing long-term, stable funding from all levels of government is a constant battle. Plus, we need to make transit a more attractive option. That means making it reliable, frequent, safe, and affordable. If taking the bus or train is slower and more expensive than driving, people simply won't make the switch. In 2025, the pressure is on to not just build new lines, but to make the entire system work better for the people who depend on it every day. Now, let's zoom out from the cities and look at the bigger picture, our national supply chain. Remember the empty shelves and shipping delays we saw a few years ago? Well, those vulnerabilities haven't gone away. Our supply chain is a complex web of trucks, trains, ships, and planes, and it's under immense strain. Our ports, especially the Port of Vancouver, are major bottlenecks. They're handling record volumes of cargo, but they're struggling with limited capacity, labor shortages, and outdated infrastructure. When goods can't move efficiently from the port onto a train or a truck, it creates a ripple effect across the entire country. Everything from electronics to food to building materials gets delayed, and those costs are eventually passed on to us, the consumers. We're also seeing the impacts of climate change. Wildfires in BC and floods have shown just how easily our key rail and highway corridors can be severed, grinding the movement of goods to a halt. In 2025, strengthening the resilience of our supply chain is no longer just an economic issue, it is a matter of national security. Connected to this is the state of our rail and freight systems. Canada is a massive country, and rail is the backbone for moving goods long distance. But our rail network is facing its own set of challenges. It's an aging system, and much of it is single-tracked, which means a single delay can have a domino effect for hours or even days. There's also a constant tension between freight trains and passenger rail. Via Rail, our national passenger service often has to give way to freight trains because it runs on tracks owned by private freight companies. This leads to frequent delays and makes train travel a less reliable option for people. Investing in dedicated passenger tracks and modernizing our rail infrastructure is a huge undertaking. but it's essential if we want to build a more balanced and efficient national transportation system. We need a strategy that allows both goods and people to move quickly and reliably from coast to coast. And we can't talk about transportation in 2025 without talking about the green transition. Canada has ambitious climate goals, and the transportation sector is the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the country. The pressure to decarbonize is immense. The federal government has set a target for all new light-duty cars and trucks sold in the country to be zero emission by 2035. That sounds great, but are we ready for it? The transition to electric vehicles, or EVs, is a massive challenge. First, there's the charging infrastructure. We need a vast, reliable network of public charging stations, especially in rural and remote areas, and in apartment buildings where people can't easily install a home charger. Right now, range anxiety is a very real concern for many Canadians considering an EV. Then, there's the cost. EVs are still more expensive up front than their gasoline counterparts, and not everyone can afford them, even with government rebates. And what about our electricity grid? Can it handle the massive increase in demand as millions of us start plugging in our cars every night? These are critical questions we need to answer, and fast. Beyond personal cars, the green transition also needs to happen in trucking, shipping, and aviation sectors that are much harder to electrify. We're seeing promising developments in hydrogen fuel cell technology for heavy-duty trucks and research into sustainable aviation fuels. But these are still in their early stages. The cost and scale of this transition are staggering. For trucking companies, replacing an entire fleet of diesel trucks with new, unproven technology is a huge financial risk. In 2025, we're in this awkward in-between phase. We know we need to change, but the technology and infrastructure aren't quite there yet, creating a lot of uncertainty for both industry and the public. Finding the right balance between pushing for change and ensuring the transition is practical and affordable is one of the defining challenges of our time. Another critical piece of the puzzle is regional and rural connectivity. While cities grapple with congestion, many rural and remote communities, including many Indigenous communities, face the opposite problem: a lack of transportation options. Greyhound's exit from Western Canada a few years ago left a massive void, cutting off a vital and affordable link for many people. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a barrier to accessing healthcare, education, and economic opportunities. If you don't own a car and there's no bus or train service, you're effectively isolated. We're seeing some smaller regional bus lines stepping up, and some provinces are trying to subsidize services, but it's a patchwork solution. Creating sustainable transportation networks for these communities is incredibly difficult because of the vast distances and low population densities. But it's a matter of equity. Every Canadian, no matter where they live, deserves access to reliable and affordable transportation. This issue needs to be a national priority, not an afterthought. Finally, let's talk about the role of technology and innovation. We hear a lot of buzzwords like smart cities, autonomous vehicles, and mobility as a service. These technologies hold incredible promise for solving some of our biggest transportation woes. Imagine a city where traffic lights intelligently adapt to real-time traffic flow, or where a single app allows you to seamlessly plan and pay for a trip using a combination of bike share, a bus, and a ride-hailing service. Self-driving cars could one day dramatically improve safety and efficiency. However, in 2025, we're still a long way from this futuristic vision. The technical, regulatory, and social hurdles are immense. Who is liable when an autonomous car crashes? How do we ensure these new technologies don't widen the gap between the tech-savvy and everyone else? And how do we protect our privacy when our every move is being tracked by transportation apps? Innovation is crucial, but we need to be thoughtful and deliberate about how we integrate it, ensuring it serves the public good and creates a system that is more equitable and accessible for everyone. So, what's the takeaway from all this? The transportation challenges facing Canada in 2025 are complex and interconnected. There's no single easy fix. Solving urban congestion requires more than just building new highways. It requires a massive investment in public transit. Greening our transportation system isn't just about selling more EVs. It's about building the infrastructure to support them and ensuring the transition is fair for everyone. And strengthening our supply chains means looking at everything from our ports to our rail lines to the highways that connect our communities. Moving forward will require bold vision, sustained investment, and collaboration between all levels of government, private industry, and the public. It's a huge task, but it's essential for Canada's future prosperity, sustainability, and quality of life. What do you think is the biggest transportation issue in your community? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the issues shaping Canada. See you in the next one.